Hello, hello, welcome. Hello, my name is Taylor Thompson. I'm coming to you live here, Wisdom Wednesday, and so this is a special interview that I'm actually involved in several of the platforms that Larry and I are involved with, just because of this message is so relevant, it's so current. And for those of you who are in the network marketing space, this is some wisdom coming to you on Wednesday that you may want to sit down and take some notes. So I have a special guest here, and her name is Donna Serritella. And Donna, how are you today?
I am doing excellent. I'm in sunny Las Vegas. Where else?
Oh gosh, well, I'm in sunny Texas, so you can't get much hotter, that's for sure. So as you guys are coming in, let us know you're here. Let us know your name. We are on StreamYard, so give StreamYard the permission right up top. Just scroll up that says, like, we know who you are. Otherwise, we just see Facebook user. But let us know where you're coming in. Maybe you're over in Europe, maybe Ireland, Spain, Italy. I mean, wherever that is, let us know you're here and say hi, because we are happy to have you here. So Taylor Thompson here, founder She Network, and we are live with Wisdom Wednesday. So this is a special interview that I wanted to come on because we're talking about compliance. And, you know, it's not one of those, hi, Lynn, how are you? This is not one of those subjects that, you know, most distributors really want to have the conversation about. This is one of those things that's like, ugh, you know, it's not a fun subject, but it is a relevant subject, and especially in the climate that we are currently in. And so I wanted to come on and have Donna on here to give you guys some value. So please take some notes. And she's coming out with a book here. So we're going to be talking about compliance solutions and what the FTC is not telling you that we're going to tell you. Basically, that's really what it comes down to. So as distributors, these are things that you need to know, because you are in business for yourself, not by yourself, but you still are ultimately an independent business contractor, and you need to take responsibility for your business and your actions. Would you agree, Donna?
Absolutely. You're an independent contractor, and whatever you say goes back to the company. So the company has a vested interest in teaching you and making sure you're doing the right thing. And you have a vested interest because you want the company to be successful so you can earn commissions.
Yes. Absolutely. So let's dive in here just a minute. So, well, first of all, let's tell a little bit about you, you know, because how does somebody become, you know, being a compliance director? Like what, how do you do that? Why do you want to do that?
Oh, well, you know, I'm from a very dysfunctional Italian family. I'm the last of 6 kids, and my dad was a criminal attorney.
Wow.
So, and a workaholic. So in order to see him, I had to go to his office, which was in the basement, and a big Chicago home. And he would show me things about the law and teach me to be his little law clerk. So I enjoyed it, and I wanted to get involved in it. And it just came upon me because I joined Amway 3 times. I wanted to draw circles, but they wouldn't let me because I was a woman. So
right.
I had to make coffee.
What year was that?
That was in let's see, I am 60, and I was 18, 17, 18. So 77, 78.
Right.
I was 17, 18, 19 years old.
So this is a great story here because of 77, 78. So this is right before, for those of you who don't know the history of Amway, you know, and I'm a big believer about history because, you know, I always think it's the pioneers, it's the one that paved the way and leading the way so you have a smoother track to run on. And that's exactly if, you know, sometimes people go Amway, like, but let me just tell you, if it wasn't for Amway, we would not have the industry that we have, that we know today, because 78, 79, like Larry talks about this, whenever he started, it was, it was like, gamblers and drug dealers. And then we had the pyramiders down here, right? It wasn't even, there was no such terminology as multi-level marketing. It wasn't even that network marketing came later, but it wasn't even a term until Amway fought for this decree, this consent decree that made it legal, because most people don't even know, Donna, that back in the day, multi-level marketing was 1% of one generation. Most people don't even know that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Isn't that crazy to think about? Whenever Larry started, network marketing was 1% of one generation. Everything was retail wholesale, right? And it was only Amway that fought for that consent decree, which landed in 1979, that made it legal for a company to be multi-level marketing, where you could go 3 generations and pay 3 generations. Now, most people in this day and time don't even know what generations are. They know what levels are, but they don't know what generations are. So it's kind of like, okay, they don't even understand that language. So you go way back. They
paved the way. Yes. I learned quite a bit from Jerry Nura, who was the attorney for Amway for quite some time. And he and I worked on a couple cases together. And he was just so dynamic in his interpretation of the law and what they could do and couldn't do. So I just got bitten by it and kind of continued. Burke Hedges, the gentleman that wrote Who Stole the American Dream, he hired me to write a training manual for a direct selling company. So I got all involved in that, and I just continued to go with the attorneys to their next client, because I was helping them sort of like a paralegal, getting the legal documents in order, and along the way learning a lot about direct selling compliance and the importance of having customers, and just the basic regulations that I don't think people understand or know about. It's fearful for people sometimes to make a testimonial, because they're not sure if they're going to make a drug claim or do something that would get their company in trouble.
Well, and before we got on, most people think, we talk about, like I was talking about, like Larry, and how, they went with Herbalife, and how in 1985, what happened with them, and how they fought the government, how they fought the FDA. And ultimately, it was a political situation, but they were making some serious claims, but the claims that they were doing was like how it was really helping people with their health and their weight. And it was all true stuff, right? But the pharmaceuticals, the political aspects of it started coming in, what you can say, what you can't say. But literally overnight, and most people don't know this, they lost over 100,000 distributors in one night, because USA Today was saying their products were killing babies.
Oh.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine being a distributor trying to deal with that?
No.
And ultimately, Donna, the only thing that they had to do was they changed 16 words on their labels. They altered 16 words. And instead of saying gets rid of cellulite, helps reduce the appearance of, just little nuances like that. And that's where those things started coming into play, claims and what you could say, right? So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. What happens for the distributor in this day and time, and like how this has evolved and how this is impacting our business.
Well, it's interesting, Taylor, because just because it's true, you can't say it. Kevin Grimes always talks about that. And I'm like, what do you mean? Just because it's true, you can't claim that. And it is true. There are laws that prevent us from making drug claims about nutritional supplements. So if we were marketing pharmaceuticals, we can make drug claims, because pharmaceuticals are there to combat drugs. So not making drug claims is one of the most important red flags, and not making income claims. But with the drug claims, people don't understand that they can't mention the name of a disease. There's a checklist that, are you making a drug claim?
So let's talk about that for just a minute. First of all, I'm really happy that you brought up Kevin Grimes, because just recently, there was several companies that were hit with letters with the FTC. I mean, I know that there was like 16 or 17
Yes, 16 or 17.
And it was all as related to what was happening currently in our space with the quarantines and all of it, talking about an immune system. And so most people don't realize, well, okay, let me come back to that, but I want to talk about Kevin for a minute, because whenever all this came out, I have this letter that Kevin, and I'm going to read an excerpt since you work so closely with him. And it was like, here's what he said: lessons in the missing point. Why do MLM companies keep getting sued by the FTC for the same stuff as others been sued for decades?
That exact article is in my book.
Really?
He wrote that article and allowed it to be put into the last chapter of the book. And it's so important. Why are they making the same mistakes? The past is repeating itself.
Yes. So there's a reason for this. And so this is one of those things, like you can still do business and still be legal. The FTC hasn't changed. It's the same. It's the same. But the difference is that companies and distributors are pushing the line. They're pushing. They're really pushing the barrier, right? They're trying to move the line, and these laws and these decrees have been in place for years. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So let's talk about that.
Well, the income claims is the big one, because it as far as the FTC and the FDA and regulatory bodies, the income claims are claims of income, may be true or not true, but they can be express claims where I say I made $15,000 last month, or they can be implied claims where you float money down behind you in a video, or you show a big house or a car or fancy clothes. So those are implied claims. So you've got the express claims and the implied claims, and you've got to watch out for both types because they trigger red flags. And the one thing that a company would prefer not to do is receive word from the FTC about something one of their distributors is doing. They'd rather have their monitors pick it up so they can correct it before the FTC catches a hold of it.
So this is what I was actually going to say, is that most distributors don't realize. I mean, so back in the day, like whenever I was building a business, like, it wasn't so prevalent. I mean, you could get away with a little more because you weren't out there in social media world where the world to see.
Yes.
Whatever you did, it was usually a one-off deal, and it wasn't like everybody and their dog could see it. Mm-hmm. So most people on social media don't realize that the FTC has artificial intelligence that picks up on all of these red flags that you're posting. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And they pick it up and they grab you, mm-hmm. and then they track you and they go to the company, and the company is the one that's having to answer for your post, for the things that you're saying. Mm-hmm, and mm-hmm. So this is an educational process. This is you taking responsibility for your business. So it's a double-edged sword. It's the company side, and it's the company's responsibility and the distributor's responsibility. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely. And the education of the distributor falls back on the company. So one of the ways you can tell if your company might not be doing the right thing, do they have compliance education? Are they teaching you what's right and wrong? Or are they just letting you out willy-nilly to go on social media and say whatever you want to say? Those are big red flags. And when you have a red flag, the regulators they're going to join your company, and they're going to go on your conference calls, and they're going to go to your events, and they're just going to scope you out for the next 6 months or a year. Look at how long they scoped out some of these companies they've just recently gone after. It's been months, it's been years. They really do their homework before they dive in.
Well, and I know that, they don't call you the queen of compliance for a reason, like, right? I have a couple of friends, one in particular that she is compliance, like international compliance. Oh. That they would literally send her in as a plant, mm-hmm. to actually to join the company. right? To join the company, to come to a meeting, to be involved, to gather data, to collect data and information, to take it back, to see like people like this is happening right this minute. Right this minute, there are people infiltrated in your company to see if you are running your business in the way, in the manner that it should be. So why is it that tell me from your perspective why you think compliance started and what's the purpose of it? Like from your perspective. I know, I think, but like tell the people like what you believe and why this is important.
I believe very strongly in the industry. I think it's the greatest distribution model ever invented. I was hooked on it when I was 18 with Amway, and I just continued to join companies and evaluate and look at it and see what it was all about. So my enthusiasm for the industry just brought me to a place where I was able to look at it and decide if I wanted to be involved in it and make a difference, because I could see that it was just education. The lessons on missing the point are so specific. If a distributor understood those lessons, they can take them to the owner of the company and say, hey, do you know this? Is this true? Because we're going to make the same mistakes. We don't have the customers. Everybody's a rep. How can we have a legal company if everybody's a representative or a distributor? We've got to have customers, and the customer requirement has to be there. If your comp plan doesn't have a customer requirement, something might be wrong.
Well, and here's the other thing. And this is my philosophy and my opinion. Like, you can have customers and you can have, I know that there's, the company that I was with, you had to have at least 10 customers, and it was a rule, and you had to fax in the name of your customers. You have to know that there's this kind of compliance, legal ease and legal ors in place. But, it is true, like that the FTC is also looking at where the money is going. It's not just about having a customer. It's like, who's getting compensated for the work being done? If I'm getting you as a customer and I'm only making 10%, and they're paying out, 4 or 5 levels up the chain who have nothing to do with getting that customers, would you agree that that's a red flag?
Yes, it would be a red flag, definitely.
And most of the time, people they don't know, they don't understand. They go, well, we have customers, we do have customers. Well, but it's like, who's getting compensated for the work being done? That's really kind of what they're looking at. Would you agree?
Yes, they look at how much money your compensation plan is generating in certain areas. Like, for example, if you have a starter kit, let's say it's $1,000 for your starter kit, and the most amount they're paying out to distributors is for a percentage of the starter kit because it's all product. So there's things you have to watch out for. And those are things that are super important to the compliance side of it, but not a lot of distributors know those things. So they don't know to hold their company accountable.
So this is a two-sided street, in my opinion. So first of all, as a distributor, as a responsible distributor, it is on you. It is on you. You can't say, well, I didn't know. I didn't know the rules of engagement. Well, that's not an excuse anymore. Would you agree? Because I know for a fact that they're holding companies liable, but they're also holding the top tier leaders and top tier earners responsible for what's being said in the market. Is that, have you seen that to be true more so?
It is true. They're naming lead distributors, and sometimes even deeper into the organization, distributors that may have made comments on social media. When the letters came out from the FTC, some of them were about COVID because people were making claims that their products cured, treated, or healed the COVID virus. So when all that kind of settled, then some more letters came, which were mostly income claims and claims that distributors made. So those distributors are making red flags. And if you knew for a fact that you couldn't bring up the word diabetes and you couldn't talk about your glucose monitor testing and what your blood levels were every morning for a week, and then your product came along and you took it and your blood sugar went down to 98 from 200. If you make claims like that, it can fall back on the company, but it can also fall back on you. So you are responsible. That's a great way to look at it.
Well, and really, I mean, I think the biggest, from that perspective is like being very conscious about what you're putting in print. I mean, that's always like, the way I teach it, like, watch what you say in print, vaguely specific.
It's called evidence.
Being vaguely specific about what you're talking about, and vaguely. So let's talk about give everybody some handles to hang on to. So if we're talking about, let's just say you are you have your product that for your company is a consumable product. Okay. What would you tell them? What would be the 3 things that they need to know or not to do, right? And whenever they are sharing their story or sharing testimonials, give them, a few handles like what not to do if they're consumables.
The main thing is not to talk about drugs or diseases. So you can't say I have diabetes and I take metformin every day, and now I don't take metformin anymore and I contribute it to your product. So the minute you start making any kind of medical claim, you have to remember you can go towards health. Instead of going towards the disease and the bad side of it, you can go towards health. So instead of saying, I had terrible insomnia, oh my gosh, I had this horrible insomnia for years. Instead of saying that, I've had difficulty sleeping for quite some time. And it really drives me crazy. I get up and I just haven't had enough sleep. You enunciate what you can talk about and make that expression come across. That, I have the worst sleep. It drives me crazy. If I could find something that helped me with my sleep, I would take it. So
guys, this is gold right here. Okay. This is absolute gold. And I hope that you discern what Donna was saying. What she's saying, she said the exact same thing without saying the thing.
Right.
She, in other words, she put into words how she was feeling. Right. Not what the words were like, like yesterday I was like one of the ladies I was helping with her story, and she was talking about being premenopausal or, about menopause. I'm like, no, can't talk about that. Right. You can't talk about that. You can talk about because first of all, even if you could, why would you do that? Because some people may not know what is that and what does it mean. So like, what were you, because of, I was feeling this way, and because I'm this particular age, sometimes more women experience this than not, right? That's a way to say the same thing without using that definition.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. So, okay, so that's one thing. So what's a couple of others?
Okay, the income claims. When you've made $15,000 a month, you can't say that. So you can say things that do not specifically relate to that amount. Like you can't say I got a BMW 435 or whatever it is. You can say I got the car of my dreams. I got the car of my dreams. You enunciate it. You bring the example to life with your words, but you don't say, I got a $15,000 car. I paid off my mortgage on a $300,000 house. I went on a $15,000 cruise with my entire family. You can make those same statements and even make them more impactful. If you say, I had an opportunity to take my entire family on a cruise and we bonded and made memories. It was priceless. And that is more impactful than I made $5,000 and took my family on a cruise.
So let's really again, I'm going to go back to this being a double-edged sword and you being a distributor having to take responsibility, right?
Okay.
But you're only one of thousands of distributors in your company. So let's talk about what's the company's responsibility, because it is the company's responsibility to hold distributors accountable, right? Educate them in the process. But have you seen, like, I mean, like, let's talk about this, because we may be stepping on some toes here, but I mean, I'm just going to talk about the big elephant in the room. Would you agree that some of maybe the companies let that kind of thing slide a little bit because it's their top earner, it's one of the top tier people, they don't want to ruffle any feathers, so they kind of turn a blind eye?
Yeah, absolutely. It's generating a lot of revenue, so they turn a blind eye, and that's where my book was written to teach owners what they needed to do. And then people, I sent out 60 copies of it, and people read it and came back to me and said, wait a minute, if I was a distributor, I want to know this stuff. I want to hold my company accountable because they don't do these things, and I'm worried about that. So there is a responsibility.
And as they should be.
Yes.
They should be, because let's talk about that piece right there. Like,
yes.
Like, you know, because we have a lot of people that, you know, sometimes this is what they do full time. This is their business. This is what they do full time. This is their company. But you are putting your livelihood in somebody else's hands, and expecting them to do the right thing, right? With good intentions, to have good intentions behind what they're doing. But let's just say that's not happening. So what could a distributor, I mean, because you're arming them with this information. If once they get your book, and we're going to talk about how you can get this book, right? Because it's going to be launched, it's launching next week. Donna's Miss Queen of Compliance here. So you educating yourself, what are you telling, how are you equipping the distributor to communicate that, to confront that? If they see things aren't quite right, which could jeopardize their business or jeopardize their income stream.
Well, you know, a lot more companies are being transparent. And if your company is not transparent and they don't have an open door policy, whereas a distributor, you could just come in and talk to the owner about this, and, you know, even make the claim that I've been hearing that these things are red flags. And are we protecting ourselves from these red flags? Are you aware of these red flags? And just being honest with the company owners, you know, I'm not looking to start a rebellion against companies. I want for the owners to take responsibility for the education that they must provide. And I want distributors to take responsibility for what they say. So if they have to learn how to say it, they know how to say it. They can't just go off, you know, like we talked about, willy-nilly, and then they just create troubles and then potentially lose their distributorship and their income. So there are consequences to this, you know, double-edged sword for both the distributor and the company.
So so do companies have you come in? I mean, do they have you come in and take a look at stuff that they're implementing? You know, do they
do audits? We actually will audit big companies. When a regulatory body is going to get you, most of the time they're going to write a letter, like the letters that got written. So we know as a company, ooh, something's going on. This letter came in. So we need to be aware of it. We need to take action on whatever the situation is. But we've got to have a compliance department that's actively running so we can track the violations, and then they want to see the consequences. They want to know that 15 people made these errors and that 15 people received a courtesy compliance letter. Maybe they received a suspension because they've done it 5 times in the last month. There's a way and a mechanism for them to know what the consequences are. You know, the interesting thing about that is everybody has policies and procedures. The consequences for what the company can do to you are in the policies and procedures, and they're called sanctions. So if you look at your policies and procedures and look for the word sanctions, those are the things that they can do. It's not just suspend you or terminate you. They can fine you. They can keep you from going to events. They can keep you from getting an award on the stage or maybe a bonus. So there's a lot of things that they can actually do to reprimand a distributor that might not be following the policies and procedures. But it's the company's responsibility to teach those policies and procedures, because we've all done it. How many times have you joined a company? Oh, I accept, I understand, I accept. And it's a 44-page document. You never got a chance to look at it.
Well, and I will tell you that probably, I mean, the people that are watching, they're probably going, you know what? I don't even know where my policies and procedures are. And I don't even know what I checked off, right? They, I mean, everybody takes the position that's, okay, it's going to be good and there's nothing going to be harmful to me. But, what is the fine print, and what are the commitments to the company? And what is my commitment to the company as it relates to what they're saying, that I've signed off on? Because I can tell you right now, because everything's so electronic, I think people sidestep that a lot, that there's not an actual document in front. So my advice would definitely be, before you sign up, or even if you've already signed up, go find the policies and procedures, go print it off, have it available, educate yourself. Like, you are in business. You are in business for yourself. This is, I mean, like, the company does a lot of things for you, but you still have to be responsible.
Let me tell you two other big issues that fall on companies and distributors. The distributors using the name of the company in their Facebook or their Instagram name. That's real significant, because the regulators are on social media. They're looking for the corporate pages. And if you label your page X company Las Vegas, X company Miami, whatever it is, you look like corporate. So whatever you've got on your page, you had better make sure it's right, because the company would be at risk.
Well, and I mean, and I've seen this multiple times, well, first of all, like, it's not serving you as the distributor to have the name of your company in anywhere on your social media. It's not serving you at all. I mean, because people think it does, but the reality is that there's always a prejudgment that goes behind it, because it gives them a way to go to Dr. Google and Google that company and find out anything good, bad, and different about that company. So it's not serving you anyway to have the company's branding on your social media. That's my opinion as a marketer and a network marketer, right? You always want to be like, people to be curious about, what do you do and who are you with? And you have such an exciting life. I want to be a part of what you have, right?
Right.
But this piece right here, even in the marketing piece of using and leveraging the name of the company, is not healthy at all. It is, I mean, and distributors, first of all, companies should never allow it. Distributors, just know that if you're doing it, like, stop now, stop. Because there's so many implications, and they're not good ones. Company and you.
Right. And you know what the company can do? If you name your distributor or your Facebook page the company name, or your email address, that's worse. And you've sent out all these flyers with your email and all these flyers, when the policies, it actually says the company has the right to pull those things back and not allow the distributors to have them. So how would you feel if you had a Facebook page named after the company and an email page named after the company, and then you get told, change them, you have to change them, there's no exceptions to the rule, and you've lost all your goodwill with your names?
Right. And so many, and here's the thing. I mean, I think distributors, they have the best of intentions, because they don't know what they don't know.
Yes.
Right? They don't know what they don't know. And then that right there could have knocked the wind completely out of them if that happened, only for them to be lost forever, just because they didn't have the knowledge.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
And that's such a sad thing. That's such a sad thing, just because they just didn't know. And now the business is gone, and they're forever tainted because they have now such a bad taste in their mouth. Would you agree with that?
Yes, and it brings you to another actionable step for the distributor. See if there's a compliance department. See if there are people being held accountable for errors, and find out what the compliance education is from your company. They may have a video, or they may have something, they ran it a long time ago and now they don't run it anymore. You know, compliance is almost a dirty word with some owners. They do not want to hear about it. So you've got to identify and do your homework before you join a company. Make sure that company has got a solid compliance standing, and then you can feel comfortable that the company might not be targeted by a regulatory agency. Uh-oh, I think we lost Taylor for a moment.
I did. I'm sorry. My internet went boop, and all this craziness. Can you please repeat that, please? That last paragraph or so. You have to, and then I didn't get it.
Okay. You have to be responsible for what the company is. You don't have to be responsible for what the company is doing. You have to be responsible for asking the company what they're doing. So do they have an active compliance department? Do they have compliance training? So sometimes they have training and they let it go and they're not doing it anymore. Well, today I get a lot of calls from distributors saying, is this company clean? Does this company have compliance? Does this, because, you know, you are hearing about the FTC right now. You are seeing companies, you know, we've got examples of companies that have just exploded in the last few years, and they've made a lot of money. And it's not about the money. It could be 5 out of whack distributors that make statements that are so out of whack, wild claims, that the regulators catch wind of it, and then they start this year-long investigation. You just don't want that happening in your company.
Yeah, you don't want to be the one to draw attention to.
Oh no,
to what's happening. You don't.
A quick story. I was with a company for a while that one of their distributors drove around in New York City with a metallic or a magnetic sign that said, "We're in partnership with Visa and MasterCard." New York City, they drove around for days. Visa and MasterCard caught wind. They pulled their merchant account so the company could not process anything, and they almost put them out of business because they pulled it for a good 7 days, 8 days. They could not process a single order for product.
Now, how would you like to be that distributor? How would you like to be that distributor with?
Oh, I know.
You're the reason why we almost lost our merchant. Like,
yes.
And you know, and here's the thing: there was harm behind it. It was because of a lack of knowledge.
Yes.
Right. You know, the scripture, you know, my people perish for lack of knowledge. I always think about that, you know, so this is the kind of conversations, like this is the kind of wisdom you need to, you know, be equipping yourself with.
Yeah.
And having an understanding of what to do, what not to do. Because I mean, as Kevin Grimes so eloquently said, the rules have been in place for years. This has not changed. It has not changed.
Correct.
Why is it so prevalent right now? Why now? What's happening? And so I think this book, Donna, and the education of this is so timely because, you know, with what we've experienced in, you know, with the quarantine and all this stuff, like, I've never seen so many distributors. Larry and I have conversations every single day. Companies with distributors. Oh my gosh, I had my biggest month ever, my best check ever, you know, and it's happening across the board, right? And people, I say, like, people, they're fishing. They're not even having to cast the line. The fish are jumping in the boat. They're just jumping in the boat. Now more than ever, in my opinion, if I was building a team and my fish were jumping in the boat, I would make sure that my people were equipped with this kind of knowledge and this kind of wherewithal, like, okay, what you can do, how to tell your story, how to craft your story in a way that's legal, that you can duplicate and multiply your business, right?
Absolutely. It's all about duplication. And if the leader at the top starts spewing things that aren't correct, it's just going to roll downhill. So you've got to be sure, if you're a leader in a company, even verifying the information. I had a distributor call and say, I want to verify this with you. This is what our company is saying. And I was like, that's pretty accurate. That's really good stuff. And she was all excited and went off and was very confident in what the company was saying. But she had a company that went out of business. She had, a little, burn still burning. And she wanted to make sure. She didn't want to invest her blood, sweat, and tears into yet another company that had problems that were obvious, but she wasn't aware of them.
Yeah. I mean, like, that kind of goes to the interview that I did last week with Mary Scott, you know what I mean? Like, how companies have, come in and pulled the rug out from under distributors, with no, like, so there's that piece of it too. So what happens? Like, do you support distributors? Do you have a way to support distributors in that kind of environment, Donna? I mean, like, what would you advise them to do in that case?
Well, there's a couple good agencies, or I'm sorry, associations. The ANMP has help for people that are having issues. The Social Networking Association is just coming up. They're having a voice for distributors. There are even attorneys that have voices for distributors. So if something is horribly wrong, you can go to an attorney and say, hey, what are my rights? You've got to know your rights before you go on Facebook and start spewing all this horrible stuff about this owner. And heaven forbid, you're going to get a libel suit.
Yeah.
You didn't know that you can't say these things about someone, even if they're true.
Sure.
So it's important.
Now, so in your book, so we're going to be putting the link here. So the name of your book is Compliance Solutions.
What the FTC won't tell you, we will.
Okay.
It's a combination of myself, Kevin Grimes, Kevin Thompson, and Jerry Nora even wrote a little section of it. So we're real proud of it.
And so for those of you who don't know, Kevin Thompson, Kevin Grimes, like, these are, like, most people that have been around in this space know those names as, really advocating for the distributor, distributor rights. And so, yeah, very, very well respected. So we're going to put the link in how to get the book, right? But also tell me, is there any other resources in the book that they may want to have as just at their fingertips?
Well, we do list in the book the 16 things to watch out for a company that could cause red flags. And I think that's important for a distributor to know. Tell me what's expected of me so I'm not held accountable for something I didn't know. Okay. So that's something that's in there. There's some case studies in there about Vima and Herbalife, as a matter of fact, a little quick synopsis of all of those. There's a lot of information in here about the need for compliance education. There are some great virtual training teaching mechanisms that even if your company doesn't have them, you can go and learn yourself. Mm-hmm. And really give yourself a 45-minute lesson in the basics. And you'll walk away saying, wow, I've been in the industry for 20 years and I didn't know that. I didn't know that I couldn't have a contest and it wind up being a lottery. And if you don't know what a lottery is, then you can't make the contest legal.
Right.
So those kinds of things are really good pieces of education that you would get.
And here's the thing, all with good intentions, right? Yeah. All with great heart motive behind it, right? And so it's one of those things, like, you don't know what you don't know. Yes. So if you are wanting to build a business and you're in it for the long haul and you're in it for not just the short run, but you're looking to build a business this is your plan B, maybe this is your plan A, right? You have to do your due diligence. You have to be responsible for your own business. You can't just put your head in the sand and say, I didn't know.
Yes.
Because that doesn't fare well in any kind of legal situation, right?
Right.
And so it's about being self-responsible. It's about being, it's about holding yourself accountable to your business. So Donna, so last words, like what would be some of the last things that you'd like to share with the people here today?
Well, first of all, thank you so much. We just recently met, and you were so gracious to have me on the network today. And I just want to let everybody know that you really need to take responsibility. What you're saying is so true about picking up the responsibility yourself and picking up a book like this that's going to give you education. You can learn about how to do a proper testimonial. You can learn about some of the things that you shouldn't say. And best off, Kevin Grimes's chapter on missing the point is in the book. The entire piece is in the book. When I read it, I was like, this has to be in the book, because that's the whole sum up of the whole thing. The past equals the future. This is
so good. And I reference this all the time. I'm so glad. I mean, I didn't even know it was in the book.
Yeah.
So this is really good, because this really proves the point that things haven't changed, but companies and distributors have. And so the responsibility is at your feet. The responsibility to be compliant is at your feet.
Yes.
The responsibility for your company and keeping your company compliant falls at your feet. Take responsibility. So we're going to be putting the link here for you guys to be able to get access to the book. Donna, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing wisdom, giving wisdom for Wisdom Wednesday, for all these incredible network marketers who are out there changing people's lives with their product and service and their opportunities. And thank you for bringing your compliance to the forefront and educating all of us in the process.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was a pleasure.
So that's it for us, guys. Taylor Thompson here. Wisdom Wednesdays. Thank you, Donna, and hope everybody has a blessed, amazing day. Mwah.
Bye now.